Yo, GM, everybody. I'm excited to have this conversation today. Loving that there's always something new in the Counterparty community to talk about. Adam, how are you feeling today?
Super bullish, man. Super bullish. It's a great day. I saw Mike in Space just posted Bitcoin at 100,000 Canadian dollars. So that's 800K in Canadian dollars. So it's a great day, man. Bull run started.
Yeah, well, I'm excited to start listing my Counterparty Classic Rare Pepes. I hear there may be a market here pretty soon.
Let's get it.
Are you going to revive these, Adam, this time?
Oh, the fork of the fork. Which is the real one? We can get into all the chats, man. Is it an NFT? Is it not an NFT? Oh my God, let's go down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, first and foremost, though, congrats to the Counterparty community on breaking the protocol, having success, and also actually more interested in seeing the adoption that it's seen over the last 2 weeks. I saw a handful of different protocols pop up, or I guess businesses. Fireman's saw OpenStamp adding support. Rare Pepe Wallet is adding Atomic Swap support. And a few other people peeking into the interest. So, all around awesome concerted community effort. And Adam, congrats on launching Counterparty 2.0. Obviously didn't come without breaking a few things along the way, but how are you feeling about it now, about 2 weeks into this?
Hi, thanks for having me on. Yeah. It's been a nice roller coaster of emotions. It's, as you said, very exciting. We put a lot of new features out, and we did it a lot of protocol changes, protocol upgrades all at once. And we had a bunch of bugs pop up. We've had a deluge of traffic. We've had people building new services and marketplaces. We've had Telegram drama. We've had all of the things, and frankly, I'm very excited about all of the energy that Counterparty is seeing for all of those ups and downs.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen this excitement since the SRC20 controversy and Sam's controversy of last year. But the Counterparty community has been around for 10 years, and it's been primarily a decentralized cohort, which seems to be kind of where some of this controversy is spinning around. But I want to save that for a little bit, because I do want to dive into some of the technicals and just some of the basics surrounding Counterparty 2.0. Maybe some people are dropping into this conversation aren't familiar. Can you just dive into what things did you improve with Counterparty 2.0 over the last year that you've been working on?
Yeah. So I really rejoined the project in around January, and brought a couple other devs with me. And we spent about 9 months fixing tech debt, fixing bugs, fixing the test suite, improving performance, all of this sort of stuff. And it was very few user-facing features. It was trying to improve stability, trying to make the node capable of being run, etc. But along that way, a lot of users started requesting new features, and some had some really great ideas for new features. We also found issues that had been plaguing the protocol for a long time that we felt like we needed to fix. Security vulnerabilities or player cases where users would lose funds. And so we bundled up in a single large protocol update that activated a couple of weeks ago, maybe like 6 or so protocol upgrades. And some of those were smaller, minor things like around the fees for sub-assets. Like there are no more fees, there are no more issuance fees for named sub-assets, because there's no reason to have that. And getting rid of that fee allows for meta protocols to exist on top of Counterparty much more easily. We also fixed some issues with dispensers, which are a very popular feature for onboarding users into Counterparty. And dispensers have their issues in the design, but they also have issues in the implementation. And one of the issues there was that you could accidentally trigger a dispenser and lose your funds very easily. And so we fixed that. We also fixed an issue with where you could open a dispenser on an address that you didn't own, and that caused major issues as well on the technical level and the user level. And then we added 2 new major features. One was UTXO support, which allows you to sort of attach a counterparty asset to a Bitcoin UTXO, like a colored coin, like an ordinal, and then move it around the Bitcoin world, and then detach it and put it back in counterparty land. And that allows you to do really cool things like atomic trustless swaps of counterparty assets for Bitcoin in a single transaction, and also ordinals for things like that. And then there was fair minting. Fair minting was a feature that has sort of existed in different protocols in different ways. We built a very complicated, rich version of it that is sort of supports all sorts of different edge cases and use cases for Counterparty, and that allows someone to mint a token or allow to create a token that other users can mint in a decentralized and trustless way. And so we had bug fixes, we had tweaks, we had new features, and the new features are just rolling out now. They're still very raw. There are still bugs that we are finding, but we're already seeing a lot of excitement around that. Fair minting had I think we had 200,000 transactions in the first week for fair minting. We were 50% of a number of Bitcoin blocks. And tens of thousands of transactions a day, and that was a very exciting time. And still, users are still exploring that feature as well.
It never fails that the degens will break the protocol within a few hours of launching these new upgrades. Can you give us a little bit of a further explanation on what exactly happened over the last 2 weeks? We did actually have Dan on the show last week, who was the one who deployed mints and caused probably a large portion of those 200,000 mints. We saw that there had been 5 or 6 different upgrades, and there was something with the API that broke and nodes needed to be upgraded. Let's just dive into what exactly happened, how it was fixed, and what should the community expect looking forward.
There's a full postmortem for those issues and that downtime on the Counterparty website, a new Counterparty website, by the way, counterparty.io. So you can read all the details there with links to GitHub issues and stuff. But we saw when the activation block hit for 10.4.0, we had a critical performance.
Did you just get rugged?
I think right at the beginning.
Adam, if you can hear us, man, you might want to drop down and come back up. Why is it devs always have the worst tech, bro? Always.
Never fails. never fails. While we do wait for Adam to come back, I would love to pass it over to Shaban, who's on stage here. He's the founder of Spells of Genesis, and give us your opinion on first, you've been building Counterparty Marketplace for a few months now. I think you're actually the first person, or maybe one of the first people, to announce that you're building support for Counterparty 2.0. Now we're in this 2 weeks into the upgrade. What are you seeing from your end, and how excited are you for Counterparty Marketplace?
So on our part, we are super excited of all the changes and the renewed interest in Counterparty, and also the updates PSVT that allows wallets, browser wallets to operate. Very good things. We are, of course, very much impacted with all the different I would say issues or challenges that's happening right now. The most important thing for us is the usability for the user and the security. And usability, I would say, with PSVT is improving because now we have like better wallet support. But at the same time, there are big challenges around dispensers, security, putting UTXO as well in transaction. So we won't use it right off the box because the UTXO, there are some difficulties when you have other tokens like ordinals, and we want to have the best stability and the best security for users. So the marketplace first will feature the DEX, like the good old DEX, but of course people want to use Bitcoin, like to buy directly with Bitcoin, and then implement the best solution. And right now, I would say, to be perfectly honest, like the way Counterparty is happening and updating is a bit problematic from the user perspective, I would say, and also from a business perspective. So we hope it will settle down and also put like the security for the end user in mind.
Awesome. Adam, do we have you back?
Sorry, yes, my child lock on Twitter enabled, so that I don't spend too much time. Just suddenly shut down the app.
Dude, that's awesome.
I get myself 15 minutes on Twitter a day.
I love that, bro. The God, I'd have to put it at like 15 hours a day. Would have to be my like cap. But what to that point, like what are your kind of take? Obviously, you had a bit of a bumpy road here, which you acknowledge. But what would be your takeaways, kind of moving forward? You know, obviously you want to roll stuff out, right? So in some ways stuff, you know, is going to happen. That's just the nature of tech. But what have you guys learned as a team for, you know, next upgrade cycle? What's you're going to modify your strategy?
Yeah. So absolutely. I don't know if you heard me before, but I said for the bugs that have popped up in the initial downtime we had after the 10.4.0 release, we wrote a formal postmortem, which is available on the Counterparty website. We're dealing with a number of issues. One is that it's a code base that's been around for about 10 years and was not actively maintained for that period, or for maybe 8 of those years. The test suite was broken, the performance was terrible, and problems just sort of grew and languished. And so we've had to pay down a lot of tech debt and fix a lot of bugs. And there are places where the code is really messy. And some of those problems that we have to fix weren't fixable until we had this protocol change. Part of the reason that part of the motivation for some of the features in the protocol change were to fix pieces of tech debt and fix stability issues that we couldn't fix otherwise, in particular around address indexers dependency. That said, we have also there were like bugs that we absolutely should have found that we just didn't catch because our test suite was not mature enough. Or extensive enough. Our coverage could have been a lot better. We have a major milestone coming up that will improve our testing. Yeah, we need to get better at that. The community has another issue is that the community has come to sort of expect a lot of vertical integration in Counterparty, a lot of centralization in Counterparty. Everyone's used to using one wallet, one explorer, and all of which were developed in lockstep. And decentralization is messy, right? And that's actually what I think people sort of say, well, why is development so centralized now? It's the other way around. It was very centralized, and now we're doing all the protocol development in the open with official specs out there with community input and other the community is building the first wallets and explorers and tools that are using all of the features that we're building. It's not me, it's not Unspendable Labs, it's not Horizon, any of these things. The first fair minting was not us, and the first atomic swaps were not us. And that makes a mess, right? It means that there's a coordination problem. It means that, especially when we're changing APIs. One thing that I'm pretty proud of what we've done is maintain backwards compatibility. We have we've been very strict about maintaining backwards compatibility to make sure that upgrading to new versions of the software is very easy. One thing I'm not so proud of is the number of bugs. I think that there were just too many bugs and too much downtime, and some of that was traffic, and some of that was API bugs, and some of that was protocol bugs. And unfortunately, it's going to continue for a while until we can really get the code base in a more mature state. And so it's going to be messy. But as far as I'm concerned, the mess sort of needs to happen because we're coming out of this long stasis as a community, and because we're building lots of new features, and the new features are going to take some burn in, like new features, new protocols, especially once it goes so deep into the integration with Bitcoin.
Yeah, I actually spent like an hour, maybe or two yesterday, reading through I guess there's now 2 or 3 different group chats for Counterparty, and trying to figure out.
Counterparty's winning when there are now 10 chats on Telegram. It's been expanded. Man.
The issues that I'd seen, internally, at least from what I had read through, came down to 2 different things. So I'd like to kind of dive into both of them. One that you touched on, which was this idea of centralization versus decentralization. Some of the community had felt that they weren't either considered, or that they the changes that were being implemented were not properly, I guess, communicated to the community, but also you didn't listen to any of their input when some of them had forewarned that some of these issues may arise. Do you have any plans going forward in terms of how to improve governance, as you'd stated that you want to move this more towards a decentralized or community kind of owned protocol?
Yeah, I think I just have to disagree. I think that what we're doing is what we're seeing is the opposite, where the development was extremely centralized under one person who made all of the upgrades and all of the changes without any input from the community at all, without any warning, without any specs, without any testing. And now that that person doesn't have control over the protocol and isn't just developing it to support that vertical integration, we're getting some sour grapes. I can absolutely point everyone at the extensive public discussion period, open comment period, open collaboration on all of the protocol changes and all the specs, which were published months and months and months in advance. All of it was done in the open. We couldn't have had more community involvement. And every bug that has been filed on GitHub has been addressed in detail, and they're being fixed aggressively. So we've been working really, really hard to involve the community, and so far it's been really good. And unfortunately, some people don't like it when that happens.
Yeah, I can resonate with that as somebody from the Emblem team. We do town halls every Thursday, or once a month. We post, pretty much every upgrade that's happening. And what you come to find out is that the community, assesses information in different ways. Some people prefer voice content. Some people want text content. Some people want long forms. Some people want to be directly DM'd for every little thing. And so, it's tough to ensure that every single person receives, all of the proper information so that they can, make their own decisions on, what they think is right. Just going a little bit deeper in that, have you thought through maybe how, to mitigate this in the future? I did see some people proposing something about like a council, which is possible. Obviously, there's forms of on-chain, token governance. Is there anything like that in consideration of, how to maybe improve this or ensure that this doesn't happen going forward?
Yeah, I think that all of those things are great. I think that it was always my dream to have sort of a formal Counterparty foundation. I worked on it in 2014, I think, with some sort of distributed governance. I think that's I think all of that's good. I think that that's not the problem that we're seeing right now. All of the entities, with only a couple exceptions, maybe one exception, I would say, that have any kind of economic involvement in the Counterparty ecosystem, are fully on board with all of this. with everything that we've done, all the protocol changes, et cetera, they all supported all of it. They all upgraded to the new version, of course. And it's really just one entity, JDog, with one wallet, which is very popular, and one explorer that doesn't like the way that things are going. And it's not even that he has particular criticism of the way things are going. He just didn't like that certain bugs were fixed in the way that they were. Bugs that, again, were caused major stability issues or loss of user funds. And I think that that's really much more of a personal thing and a political thing than a disagreement over technical merits.
Wait. Can I jump in here?
Sure.
By the way, I want to start this off on a positive note. I do think some of the features that Adam and his team have come up with are great. I played with Fairmints, super cool stuff. And hats off to him coming back and developing an ecosystem that can put us into the future. Okay, and so we're super grateful for that, and we all have big hope for Counterparty. Right, we're all in this together. Okay, now some things I'd like to at least bring up to bring a little bit of the other side of this is that Adam left for 10 years. Okay, he was really not around. And I've only been part of the community for like, the last 2 or 3 years. And, the community is very strong, right? Counterparty we have a cult-like following. These are like the coolest people on earth. And we have a way of doing things that we've done for a very long time. And what I think we're noticing is that, Adam's coming back because it is kind of his baby. And he's kind of just forcing things on us a little bit, out of line. And so I'm representing the other side of this, saying that it's hard enough to get people to use a Counterparty wallet. It's hard enough. I've done so much to bring so many people to this community, and it's hard enough to get people involved on this second layer. And it just seems that the new devs are being very hostile to other open source tooling out there that's on the market, and things are being done in spite and not actually what's best for the community. I'm really trying to build a bridge.
Example of that.
Sorry, go ahead. Honestly, I'm trying to build a bridge here with Adam and their team. Right. We're not the bad guys. We're not the enemies. But at the same time, we all want to work together, and we all want what's best for Counterparty and Bitcoin moving forward. And so I'll just open with that.
Joe, do you have you got your hand raised?
Yeah, I mean, I hear what G Money's saying, but I think it's important to remember how we got here. That there was a big community in Counterparty about a year ago that started doing things a little differently that affected the main block explorer that everybody was using at the time. And slowed everything down and made it wonky, and there ended up being this kind of battle between X-Chain and stamps. I think we remember that. Anybody that was around at that time remember that. So it is kind of funny to see the rhetoric of let's work together when the previous container was not very interested in working together with the stamps guys, and instead wanted to create a fork so that the stamps guys could no longer use free numeric assets. So let's set the stage a little bit there.
Okay, well let's also
let me just address one more thing you said, and you can go ahead. The new features that have come out in Counterpart and the latest, let's say, consensus update in Counterparty were not features that Adam and his team came up with. They were features that we asked them for. We've been talking about UTXO binding ever since we saw the power of PSBT, atomic swaps, and ordinals, and how we could leverage that in Counterparty. We also saw BRC20 fair mints, and people wanted those. There was a big call for that. So to say that Adam and his team did things that people didn't want would be completely contrary to what actually happened. I mean, we talked about this for months and months and months. Like Adam said, I mean, this was the first consensus update in 9 months since he became a maintainer, and everything up until that point was basically just shoring up the software. I mean, it's so much easier to run a node now. It's anybody can do it. Like it's all the updates have been great, and it's just ironic that the first time we have a consensus update, it becomes an opportunity for the prior maintainer to reassert a little bit of control, because now there is a fork, right? Every time we have a consensus update, there is a fork. It's just how Counterparty works. So it's interesting to me. I'm not that surprised, I'll say. It's unfortunate, but it's not unexpected. But yeah, I think a lot of kind of the things you brought up are just not accurate. I mean, we've been working at, like, me, I know Mike, the stamps guys, I know a lot, basically most of the people around have been telling us, hey, this is what we want. This is what we want. And they put it together and built it. And we have a much better product now. I mean, it's just, that's kind of where we're at. So, and one last thing, and we'll pass it back to whatever. It is so funny to me that the version that this fork has reverted to is the version that nobody can run, really. When you could have just reverted to 10.3 and you'd have the same consensus as you had, except you'd be able to run the actual software. So it's a shame that that's where we're at. But I'm still very bullish on Counterparty. I mean, I think that, like, adding this UTXO binding, I mean, it gives Counterparty kind of superpowers that it never had before, and it actually, in future iterations and future consensus changes, it gives users the ability to opt out by simply binding their assets to a UTXO prior to a consensus change. So it's all very good stuff that we've gotten with the update. So it's just unfortunate that some people are kind of interpreting it differently.
Well, I think you left out a couple of very key details there, Joe, with, the stamps folks basically, using up resources and, shitting in the sink, as we like to call it.
Spamming the chain. Spamming the chain.
And then you've got
Bitcoiners are all the same, man.
And then you've got, well, look, and then
in the sink, G-Money.
And then you've got,
Who coined that?
well, there's no need to break stuff that's been using that we've been using for a long time, Joe. Okay,
They're like broken, dude. If it doesn't really work for what people want it for.
No. Well, that's part of the problem, right? Is that things are being done intentionally to the current tooling that's being used by 99% of the community, right? And so, why did Adam come in?
Can you give an example? Sorry,
Jay,
can you give an example? I don't mean to interrupt. Yeah. Everything
Okay,
that was forced, all the forced changes, I would love to hear some examples.
Well, I would ask you this: what did you ask JDog to shut down Free Wallet and Exchange before your wallet was ready?
What?
What
are you talking about? Can you repeat the question? That doesn't make any sense.
I said, did you ask the Exchange to shut down their wallets before your release came on board?
What? Shut down their wallet? I don't know what that means. It's a desktop wallet. I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, well, that's something we heard that was said to him to shut his tooling down while you were coming on board.
I have no idea what that is referring to. Absolutely none.
Okay.
I don't know what what that would mean. It's a desktop wallet. Like the API has been backwards compatible. Like we specifically added a number of features into the 10.4.0 change to make it backwards compatible, including allowing create send to automatically trigger dispensers. The API has been backwards compatible. There have been a couple of changes to the protocol, both of which have been extensively documented and were there to fix critical issues with the way that it was before, and all the functionality is still there. Multi-dispensers are still there, though there was a bug which we just fixed. And it now takes 3 transactions to open up a dispenser on an empty address rather than 1, which increases the transaction fees. However, you can chain those transactions together so that it happens just as fast. And we have protocol changes on the roadmap to make it a single transaction again. So no functionality was lost. The fees are slightly higher to fix protocol, like bugs, actual bugs that have persisted for years and caused major, major, major problems. No one was forced to do anything.
G-Money?
Yeah, like I said, when we're dealing with the community that has been using these dispensers forever, which they've been doing, right? The new fix isn't available for a couple of weeks. We're now at a place to where, you know, the chain is forked, right? 2.0 is basically the fork in this way going forward, because things were done to the old tooling that made it basically, right, unusable.
Nothing was done to the old tooling. Sorry, gonna have to disagree with that.
The only thing
Absolutely
I saw
nothing.
I read up was that people were bummed out that a dispenser went from a 1 transaction to a 3 transaction. That seemed to be like the main thing.
Well, no,
I mean, the
dispensers
reality
weren't being
is,
triggered.
most
right?
people, if you want to onboard people to fucking Counterparty, dispensers was the one thing that had to fucking go, dude. Like, that's the thing that we have to get past.
And that's fine, but they should have gone naturally. You shouldn't be forcing people off of what they've been using for the last 10 years. Like,
No
we've
one's-
all used
They
dispensers
still
forever.
work. They still work.
Well, a lot of them haven't been working because of the new code that was put in
No,
that made it
sorry,
only
what-
from a Counterparty wallet.
What happened there is that 6 months ago, after months of specification and discussion, a new version of the API, of the Node API, was developed, API v2. API v1 was kept around, and API v2 was designed to be backwards compatible with API v1 in terms of, at least in terms of functionality, at least feature parity. And at the time, like at the last possible, actually after the protocol change went into effect a couple of weeks ago, Jeremy finally decided to upgrade it to the new API. And he found a minor regression in an undocumented feature of memoization, of adding memos to MPMAs, right? And yeah, his wallet broke for adding memos to MPMAs because it took him 6 months to upgrade. We fixed that bug. It was a bug. It was mostly a bug. It was undefined functionality that was not replicated. We have now replicated. Backwards compatibility has always been our goal.
Okay, and we love that, right? We want to move forward here in a way that we all win. Okay, and so I think like what's best for the community is to not be hostile to other open source devs that have tooling that the community has used for a long time. And so, you know, your wallet doesn't have all the features ready yet, right? It's not ready for prime time. And while we're trying to onboard people, we still have to use existing tooling. And so I think what a lot of us are saying is, hey, why can't you just keep the status quo with dispensers and play nice with the current tooling and let atomic swaps take over? Those are naturally going to win at the end of the day. You don't have to force people off of those. You know, dispensers, people have lost their funds forever using dispensers. And even though you don't like it, it's something we've used forever. And so
no
it's
one
like,
was forced. No, nothing. Backwards compatibility was maintained. Nothing was forced. No tooling was broken.
Yeah, and I can say that I can say that dispenser works really well because I was able to create a marketplace with dispensers for fairness. So, I mean, I wasn't able to do that with renovation. Like, it was buggy, you could lose your asset if you sent BTC to it. So it wasn't working at all. And now it works. So yeah, dispensers are better now than before.
So I think it all goes to the question on who takes the decision and where is the consensus or not the consensus. And I think what we're lacking in Counterparty is a clear path, or I would say rules of governance. Because when the rules are clear, then if you're against the majority, it's clear that you are against the majority or against the consensus. And I think the way it works now, it's really hard to say, okay, am I right, or is it the right thing to do? Because you always have different opinions. Everybody has different opinions, especially on a decentralized thing. And at some point you need to take a decision. There are some that are everybody agrees to the fair mint and things like that. It's all agreed. Then there are some other changes, and some people have different visions. And I think we really need, and I think we need to acknowledge that Counterparty needs clear guidance. on where are the discussions, what are the rules to be banned or not banned, who we can ban, which behavior is to be banned, who takes the decision in the end, and if you're against, then you do a fork, and if you are with a consensus, you go with a consensus. I really think that's what's missing currently in our counterparty ecosystem.
Yeah, Adam, I'd love
It's better now than before. I mean, we have like discussions about features. We can propose features. Before it was, are you with JDog or against? I mean, that was it.
Well, Adam, I'd love some context on that, because I mean, well, the reality is that like with Bitcoin Core, you almost, it's so ossified you can't even do anything with it, right?
Mhm.
So I think in a lot of ways people appreciate the Counterparty is still, you know, previously run by JDog, now kind of run by you and your team. In reality, that's pushing it forward here. But how do you view it, like going out, okay, being fully decentralized and understanding, well, you're not going to be able to kind of build all these new things. It's going to get kind of ossified. But how do you kind of look at that, you know, long term?
Yeah, I mean, as I said, like I am very much in favor of setting up a nonprofit, of having and like an explicit community decision, like an explicit sort of, you know, I mean, the thing is, it's never going to be a community decision, right? It'll be some kind of, you know, council voted on by XCP holders or whatever the thing is. That's all great, but that's a red herring, because what we have today is backwards compatible, right? And the only cases where any functionality was changed in any way was to fix explicit security vulnerabilities that everyone agreed were explicit security vulnerabilities and caused major problems. So I very much agree with the vision. I think it's a great thing, fully in support of it. But it's a straw man, right? It's a, you know, why didn't we have, like, you know, Siobhan, like all of these discussions were public. They were on GitHub, they were on our forum, they were in Telegram, like there were lots and lots, they were for months with public specs with comment periods, right? And all of that input was taken into account. And that's why backwards compatibility was maintained in so many different cases. Because people said, actually, listen, you know, this proposal doesn't like reduce, you know, eliminates this feature or makes this use case harder. In which case, I did my best to fix those issues. And I think we did a pretty good job of that, of like really maintaining backwards compatibility everywhere so that there didn't have to be any issues, right? But I mean, JDog specifically is intentionally conflating issues, right? And, you know, he's saying like, you know, every time his wallet breaks, he's saying it's because something broke in the node software, and that's just not the case. And like, I happily point to GitHub issue after GitHub issue, and code change after code change, indicating exactly where that's the case.
One thing I think we would like to see is, you know, how are you going to move forward by also being part of Unspendable Labs that creates one of the main wallets for Counterparty, and how do you deal with that conflict of interest? Because it seems like new features have been specifically made, you know, for that wallet, which is great. We love those features, but at the same time, you know, you're kind of putting your thumb on the scale in terms of what's available for open source and you know, maybe hostilities towards that. The other thing I'd like to say is, you know, a lot of the new devs or people that are in the new chat are people that nobody's ever heard of. Okay, these are new people that nobody knows who they are. And so we'd like at least some transparency on who are these devs, who are these other people making comments. A lot of us have no idea who these people are. And so you guys have kind of come in, and we don't have a lot of transparency, to be honest.
Yeah, so a number of people have had their hands raised for, sorry.
Sorry, I was asking like, who is us? Because we are many people who are in Counterparty since years that like participated actively with the coders. Like Joe said, it's not like, okay, there's maybe like one or two people from Unspendable Labs now talking with you, but most.
If you could let Adam respond to that, I think you've got a bad connection. I can barely hear you. If you could let Adam respond.
Clinton, yeah. So a couple of things. I know a couple of people have their hand raised, so I'll try and make it brief. The first thing I'll say is that yes, there is an, and I posted an extensive discussion of this on Telegram. But there is an inherent conflict of interest, right? Because I run a for-profit company that builds tooling on Counterparty, and it's theoretically possible that I could push the development of the protocol in the direction that would benefit us. That isn't the case, and you can see that very, very clearly. First of all, Horizon Wallet is open source and free. Secondly, for all of these changes, Horizon Wallet and like the Explorer that we have weren't the first tools to implement these features. Like we just weren't. Like I don't tell you. Like I wish we were, but we weren't. Like because we weren't pushing. We weren't cheating, right? We weren't like developing features in secret or for our benefit. Other users, other community members have been building on it. And then, as Joe said before, like these features were requested by the community. Again, very explicitly. So it's sort of a nice narrative to spin about how there's some conflict of interest, but like, frankly, when you're talking about funding an open source project, there's often going to be money associated with like with for-profit companies that are funding the development. That happens with I don't know, the Linux kernel. But all I can say is like look at the record, because we've tried very, very hard not to do that, and like yeah, it's just evidenced in how everything has occurred.
Okay, we'll go to the hands now. Just go in order. We'll go to Dave, Angel, and then Joe right after.
So I'm in a weird position here. I got to give a little bit of explanation for people that might not be aware of just some of the work I've put forward. But about a year and a half ago, I saw that there wasn't much documentation for using Free Wallet. And Adam was like completely correct at the time. It was entirely centralized. We had one Explorer. There was xcp.dev, but it didn't look as good. And we were all used to certain things like enhanced asset information, or we were all used to it. We used it for so many years. And there wasn't that much documentation on some of the like cooler features that I thought Counterparty really shines at. So like dividends and again, enhanced asset information to show some beautiful things when people make tokens. I use a great example, Fake Dust by Kane Mayfield. It's just video, audio, HTML with a player. It's just this gorgeous representation of what you can do on Counterparty. And I have another aspect, another thought that I want to get to, but the first one is just kind of, I've been diving deep into GitHub. There's not many people, not many users that actually kind of follow the GitHub. And before Adam came along, it was really difficult to find information. Did you go to the forums? Did you go to the CIPs? Did you go to the GitHub? Did you go to the Telegram? It was like really all over the place. And I actually really respect Adam's choice to bring that all into one central, like kind of one place to say, hey, I can just go to the issues place and see that. But I disagree a little bit with this CIP archiving. And I'm kind of going all over the place here, but the two things that I've kind of, I'm in a weird place here because I started with saying, hey, I want to show people all these tools and functions. And now Free Wallet's in a point where it's kind of getting pushed away to not use it with the new Counterparty website. And it kind of bums me out because I'm like, there's so many cool tools that Counterparty has that are only offered by Free Wallet at the moment. And I want new users to see all of the tools. The new stuff is amazing. Atomic swaps, I'm so excited about for people just to be building this out. But I guess, and I'm just kind of venting on that side of things there. But my question to Adam is, a lot of people here are talking about, okay, Counterparty Foundation, how do we get consensus? And I just wonder, why not look back at the CIP process, the Counterparty Improvement Proposal process? At that time, it was archived. You had JP Jansen as the main editor appointed to that. And then there was this list on the Counterparty GitHub of like, hey, there's 4 different kind of sections on proposals you might like to make. And it was so nice as to study historically the Counterparty improvement proposals by K-Uno or Dan Anderson or all of these people that have been there for so long. And while I agree with you that it should have been, it shouldn't be all over the place, it should be in this one spot, why not re-look at the Counterparty improvement proposal process to make it a little more of hey, come to this specific spot. I think that's what G-Money was referencing is this is the way we used to do it. But I just wonder on that choice, why was the CIP improvement process archived? And do you think you would ever reconsider bringing that back again for a little bit more of a a discussion place that's kind of less techy with clicking through issues and milestones?
Sure. Yeah. 100%. I have no problem with the idea of a CIP system. I archived the CIPs in that repo, though of course all that information is still public, and turned it into a discussion forum with actual proposals, which people haven't been using. And yeah, it's new, right? And I sort of suggested that at least for the moment, people use GitHub issues, and just as proposals for how to change everything, change the protocol, change whatever. If that's unfriendly for some reason, okay, yeah, we can change it. I'm not wedded to any particular tooling there. I think that from what I saw of the previous CIP system, it was very broken. There were lots and lots of CIPs, including CIPs on how to write CIPs and CIPs on how to approve CIPs and so on and so forth, and they had absolutely nothing to do with actual development. And so while it was sort of nice as a discussion forum, it was divorced from actual development, and that was something that I wanted to fix. I wanted proposals for changing the protocol to be integrated with the repo for that actually implements the protocol. But if that's unfriendly, we can change it. I'm not particularly attached to any particular tool.
I can understand that. My question for you, because I was really interested in the CIP process, one, just because it was just this gold mine of historical developer updates. Not many people, it was actually difficult, but not many people were even aware of that. I mean, these guys, Dan Anderson, Droplister, Looney, they're very aware, but a lot of the user community wasn't aware of that. And my question to you is, if you did reignite the CIP process, what would the kind of introduction, what would it look like? How would you if you were to bring it back, because you see these issues with the old way of CIP 0.01 or whatever it was, like how to write a CIP, and it was very outdated. I mean, you're not wrong at all. It's so outdated. I mean, it was from 8 years ago, right? If you did that again, how would you do it?
My position is that you should generally start with a minimal process and then build process on top of that, and build more and more process on top of that to avoid bureaucracy, to allow for have an actual system in place that lets you go end to end from an idea to development. And with the CIP system that we had, it all got stuck in the first step of I have an idea. And then there was a lot of vitriolic disagreement about how to actually implement stuff, when to implement stuff, and support for a CIP had absolutely nothing to do with what was going to be implemented in the protocol. So I would start with the existing system, which is I put the existing system in place just using GitHub issues, and labels and tags and so on and so forth, spec writing to start with. Happy to add more process there to increase transparency, to allow for easier contribution, whatever it is.
Awesome. So we'll continue with the hands. Go ahead, Angel, and then we'll go to Joe and Nilly right after.
Thank you, Jake. Yeah, I want to comment in two topics that were discussed with Looney and Jimony regarding dispensers and also the tooling that we had a couple of years ago. When stamps came to the ecosystem, all of the people that came to stamp in the beginning were coming from the current Counterparty community, and we were using the Explorer of JDog, also Free Wallet. So we wanted to use all these tools, but a lot of people start coming in, and the process of doing everything start to get messy, because we, as you all know, we almost get a fork. Well, we were with the discussion of the fork all the weeks, at the same time that we had to do a lot of things. In our case, we built the RareStamp platform where a user could see dispenser, go there and do some buys. And on the peak of stamps, we got in just 1 week over $30K spent in scams, just in 1 week, and just in our through our platform. So that was really what kills a big momentum in stamp. A lot of people start to get off the ecosystem just because of that. So that tooling need, we've been claiming a lot that we needed a solution. The solution back then was the trusted dispenser, but that wasn't a solution to scale. And now we have this solution that has been built, and not just that, also the ability to scale and to don't blow the database. That was something that took off Counterparty SRC20. So regarding the other point that Jimmy made about that 99% of users were using this tooling, it's not really true, because since the start came up, a lot of new tools have come around, and also with fair means. Like I have read that when fair means just kick off, 50% of Bitcoin transactions were fair means. So that's a whole new wave of users that are using all these tools. So I think the work that have been done during the last 9 months is great for scale what it can be achieved within the community, and also with new utilities that I think are really, really, really good with what we had before. So, and also regarding the point of all the new devs coming in, I think it's really good that we have more devs coming to the community trying to build new stuff. I think it's really healthy to keep moving forward in that way.
All right, go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, I just wanted to just like add some context to a few things. I know G-Money referenced on the Counterparty website, it says not to use Free Wallet. That's strictly because Free Wallet, it plans to offer a fork of Counterparty, and to like you wouldn't tell people to use a Bcash wallet on a Bitcoin website, because you're just going to confuse people that don't know any better, and they're going to get scammed. It's like, I mean, that's pretty basic. I think we all understand that. Like, you wouldn't promote a fork on the site that's not the fork. So it's just interesting to me that it's like, hey, you're saying people don't use this wallet that has all these features, and yet, sure, the experienced user can continue to use it as long as they know they're using Counterparty. But if they don't know any better, then getting scammed, which happened if anybody around during the fork wars in Bitcoin, was prevalent. I mean, it's like, hey, go to this place and check your balance. Oh yeah, you've got it. Yeah, I've got it. And then you go to send it to an Emblem vault and it doesn't show up. Well, why didn't it show up? Well, because you didn't actually buy the thing.
Well, as far as I know, I think he's making a 2.0 wallet as well, from what I've heard. I don't know. I think that's also the case.
We don't know. We don't know. We only know what he said he's going to do, right?
I'd like to ask one more thing, just because I got to get running here soon, if possible. But since we do have a fork, and moving forward to protect users on both chains, will 2.0 be using replay protection to keep the ledgers in
I just want to address that, because I think that's also a red herring. So this implementation of replay protection, it would be, if we were to do it every time Counterparty consensus changed, that's one thing, right? If we were to change the like if the initial bytes in a Counterparty transaction were to increment every time there was a new update, then that would be, okay, that's the way things are done, right? But that's never been the case. So we've had forks, let's say, every time there's a consensus change. Go through the protocol changes JSON on the repo. I mean, you can see it. I mean, there's double-digit forks, let's say, over the years. So ask the current version of Counterparty, because that's what we're talking about. This Counterparty 2.0 meme is just the current version of Counterparty. To say that the current version of Counterparty should somehow change the way they do things so that people can run an old version of Counterparty seems very counterproductive. And the fork, like you say, now we have a fork. We have 10, there's 20 forks of Counterparty if you choose to run them. It's really up to provide services, whatever they want to do. You can run what you want. I mean, this is the space we're in. Anybody can do whatever they want.
Or are you saying they're not going to give users replay protection in the possibility of losing funds?
You should ask the developer that's.
Well, no, we're asking what you guys, what the plan is. It's a question we're asking. You can just say no, Joe, if that's what you're implementing.
I'm not a maintainer. I'm just giving you my opinion. My opinion is.
Well, you're speaking on behalf of.
I'm not speaking on behalf of anyone but myself. I think that should be pretty clear. If it's not clear, let's make it clear. I talk for me, nobody else. This is strictly my opinion. The way Counterparty is updated over the years is to update. And if you're running an old version, good luck. You're running an old version. That's just how things are. So I think the impetus is on the person running the old version of the software to educate their users and let them know, hey, your asset balance on this version might be different than on the current version of the software, because there's been a consensus change.
Well, and that's a problem, because I've actually put out, memos to my groups to not make any transactions on Counterparty until this dust settles. So literally, like, I know we had a lot of action with the Fairmints, but that's kind of gone to zero. And there's, the transaction volume on Counterparty has gone down since this exchange. And so, I'm just telling you, like, a lot of us are just going to kind of sit back and wait and see what happens.
I think that's a great suggestion. Honestly,
Okay.
I mean,
Cool.
because if you don't do anything, nothing has changed for you, right? Like,
Right. Exactly.
nobody can take your assets from you. So, like,
and look,
so
I think a lot of us
want
to work together, Joe. I like you. You're a nice guy. I like Adam. He's a nice guy. I hope you and J-Dog can all go in the woods and do a bunch of mushrooms and hug it out, or figure whatever the fuck has to be figured out, so that we can all just fucking kick these shitcoiners, asses.
Well,
that's all we want to do.
Let's get to the real question is, Adam, if J-Dog stops running the fork, will you remove that kind of warning from the Counterparty website? It's kind of that simple.
Yeah, it's a tricky one, because it's the second time this year that he's attacked the network for his own benefit. Yeah, of course. Like, I would love it if Free Wallet were, not attacking the network, if J-Dog were not attacking the network. I think that I do feel uncomfortable about it, right? Like, I feel uncomfortable recommending his tooling at this point. That said, it's not a personal decision, right? And it's for the Counterparty community to decide. I would put it to the Counterparty community, frankly, and say, or do you guys, like, how do you feel about the fact that this wallet developer, every time he feels left out of something, decides to just sort of, like, block transactions or run old versions or whatever the thing is. And I think that's the severity of what he's doing really can't be can't be overstated. And even still, right? People still use Free Wallet, and Free Wallet still implements the Counterparty protocol, at least in one of its versions, I guess. J-Dog is keeping it intentionally ambiguous what he's doing, what he's going to do, because he wants that attention, because he wants to create that discord. I think that we probably would. What I would probably recommend is we would put a notice on the website saying, right now this version of Free Wallet is safe. These versions of Free Wallet are dangerous, or whatever the thing is that that J-Dog ends up doing. But I also don't really like this cat and mouse game where it's intentionally ambiguous as a way of attracting attention and creating disruption for no technical reason. And I want to stand by that. No technical reason whatsoever.
You mentioned getting some feedback from the community. I'm in a really weird spot here, because I went out of my way to try to write the Free Wallet user manual before all this drama happened, and I was just excited about Counterparty functions. And so now I'm really proud of what I wrote, and kind of like really proud of Counterparty. I just think overall it is sad we're in this position that this wallet that kind of, it's the only one that really has every single feature. And I'm in a really strange position here. And I'll just say personally, I'm not really interested in using protocol version 9.6. I know there is things that changed, and whether or not I, agree or disagree with them, I am okay with it. I'm fine with it. And I just think I'm more expressing my just kind of sadness that we don't have. I want the Counterparty website to show a wallet that has all the features. And I'm thinking some people have seen this, but I talked with FF Mad Quentin, and I said, hey, what would J-Dog have to do to make it so, hey, this free wallet that's running 10.4 plus or 10.6, whatever we're on now, is like the recommended one. It's this weird window that I wish wasn't here, that if you didn't use free wallet, you would not be able to use some of these inherently beautiful counterparty features. It's more so me expressing, I want a new user to come to the platform and be excited, to be like, oh wow, I can put base 64 in the description, and do it the way Stamps did, or I can do dividends, and anyway, it's just expressing that it's weird for me in this position right now, because I want to support all these cool features. I want to educate, but it's just sad that I don't know. I mentioned this to JDog publicly, and I was like, hey, why not just call this 9.6 version like FW Classic, or just call it Counterparty Classic, and then keep free wallet that's on the new version that's updating. It's the same name it has always been. So I've been trying to promote a compromise so free wallet can still be shown on the website for this. If in the future, 6 months from now, there's a wallet that's like way better and it does all the features that I love and have written about, then fine. But it just sucks that we're in this moment right now where it's this weird kind of limbo of like half and half. And I have no like really big influence on what JDog does or what you guys do. I just want to express that it's just, gosh, I wish users had a place where they could learn about all of these features, especially the new ones too, but even the old ones that are backwards compatible. And anyway, that's just my kind of 2 cents when you mention what does the community think about this. I argue there should be a compromise to show the updated free wallet 2.0 running 10.6 on the website for the time being. I just think that if anything could be done to have that happen, it would make me so happy, because then people can get all the features available and all the tooling available as a user right now.
If I may add, I discussed a lot with JDog over time, since we are using his infrastructure for quite a long time. So the fork is the worst thing that can happen if we put the user benefit into perspective. It's dangerous. People will lose money, and so the fork, we need to avoid it at all costs. And the last time he wanted to fork, I talked with JDog, and I cannot say if I influenced him, but I kind of convinced him to not to fork. That was the last time. And in Counterparty, I told him, and I have to admit I may have failed on that. I told him, okay, don't fork your thing. I know you're unhappy, but don't fork your thing. Just update, and we'll set up a better governance system for Counterparty, like as a compromise. Again, repeating myself, I think it's really important to know if you are with the consensus or against the consensus. If there is no clear metric to say that you're against the consensus or why you're against the consensus, it's hard to say who is actually the one forking. So we need to avoid forking at all costs. And the thing on the website showing free wallet, if it's a fork, it's not a good idea, because it will confuse users, and also shows a bit of tension within Counterparty. And we want people to join and not to see this internal battle that we're having. We should not show it to the user. We need to protect them as much as possible. So the thing, I think for especially for JDog, what is important. So he's doing this fork threat, which is bad. Again, I think the fork is the worst thing that can happen. But in order to smooth things, I think if we can clarify, and I'm repeating myself, clarify the governance, clarify how features are decided and what are the borders of the communicating within the Counterparty chats, like what you can propose, what you can disagree, and listen to people who disagree and say, okay, this is possible, like this language is possible, or this language is not welcome in our community. So if you're using this kind of language, then you're banned. So like really, I think where our strengths can come and also make this fork things happen less would be to have like kind of guidelines, community guidelines that we can like really follow.
I'll just say one brief thing there. Every node that I know of, every economically significant node has upgraded to the new protocol, with the exception of JDog and Juan at xcp.dev, which is not super popular. If that doesn't show consensus, I don't know what does. And I think that it's quite clear if you look at the actual technical issues, if you look at GitHub, if you look at the discussion of all of these features, and the specs that were published and discussed, that there are no technical reasons for this attack on the network, just as there weren't any technical reasons in January when he did the same thing. And so asking for consensus is really great, but I think that I really don't like, I don't want to be dramatic, but we have a malicious actor. And that is a really bad situation to be in. Like, you can't assume good faith anymore. And so, yeah, the fork is the worst thing that can happen, and posting a warning on the website is not. Posting a warning on the website is better than users actually encountering a fork without knowing about it.
Let's pop down to Nilly.
Yeah, definitely.
Hi guys,
Hey, Nilly.
it's been a while. Hello everyone. I kind of stayed on the sideline with all this that was going on in the community, and I want to kind of give you a bit of a perspective on all that. First of all, the basic counterparty protocol, whichever it's going to be, it's running on Bitcoin. So the transaction layer itself is on Bitcoin. If I'm right, there's no way to corrupt this transaction layer. It doesn't matter how many protocols we run. I might be wrong, but this is my understanding. This is why I think whatever issue that looks as a really critical social community issue is not such a big issue like it was on Bitcoin Core. So first of all, this is one of the benefits of a counterparty. The protocol can die for 10 years and still our coin's gonna be there once someone run any of a version of that protocol. So first of all, relax. Second, unless I'm wrong about that, but you let me know. And another issue, I think that is kind of being, how you call it, making it too big, is this community thing. I know like crypto became so much a community thing, but it's all about basically that we're not gonna need that community, okay? That the technology, that the consensus based on individual interests and individual set of whatever anyone wants without thinking of the other one would eventually create a consensus. So again, it's not fun maybe to fight on things, but it's not so horrible. It's okay, it's part of the process, it's an important part of every development. And also like even the personal level of conflicts. I mean, I've been through quite a few projects and some that totally failed because of this personal level of conflict. When each person that is very much involved and really care about the project really think of themselves or believe that their truth is the ultimate truth. So it's not so terrible that people get to really into these conflicts as long as the overall structure of the system enable recovering from that. So again, just take it in perspective. Another thing to take in perspective, it would sort itself out through some time, not very long time. And I think time works benefiting all of us. In the minute timeline started, like the blockchain started, time doesn't work against us for our assets. So just be a little patient with this, I think. And last thing, AI is coming, you guys. very soon, AI will make the choices
AI is
for
here.
those folks. It's here. No, it's here.
I'm not even sure if you're not an AI right now talking to me. I mean, you might be an AI.
I'm actually mainly talking with the AI that soon will replace my talk, because you know how I talk, it doesn't sound so good. Once my AI start talking, it will be much better. But seriously, it's going to make most of the decision, which will make much more sense and will be much more in line with everything. So it's really temporary. I think in a year, everything going to look really different. And last thing, regarding free wallet, I needed, in some point last year, I wanted to do something with my tokens, and I want one of the social token that has many of them that I want to distribute easily to a lot of people and have it really benefiting socially a lot of it. There was no way to do it. I mean, free wallet is so old. There was no way. I mean, it's not contemporary. It wasn't contemporary to what the rest of the application of blockchains are working. So there was just no way I could do it. I was like, okay, I'll wait until something would happen with the wallets of Counterparty. So that's my token about everything. And thank you all for working so hard on it. I mean, it's really, without it, it wouldn't happen. But the conflicts are just a natural part of it. Don't feel too bad about it.
Yeah. Thank you, Nelly. I also rotated some people off stage and invited some people on who'd hit me up and wanted to say some stuff. So if I removed you from stage, please don't be offended. 3 more.
Also, no problem.
Appreciate it, Nelly. So 3 more hands. We'll go to Dan, Kane, and then RLC right after.
Hey all, my name is Dan. I wish I could be on the video. I could add to the diversity of this conversation. I'm also in a black t-shirt.
No, I didn't even notice that.
I didn't even either.
Oh my gosh. Hear of the Bechdel test, where it's like in a movie, can 2 women be alone on screen and not talking about a man?
Yeah,
it's like, can we talk about Counterparty without like discussing J-Dog? We failed. But I think, I'm very bullish Counterparty. I think the upgrade was, messy and turbulent. However, I think, the founder and Adam here is well aware, and they're working on it all the time. So I feel that the Counterparty network's really lucky that the founders came back to sort of take on this mantle. I think without what they've put in place, we'd be in a much worse shape. So I think you have regression, and then you have optimization, and you sort of teeter back and forth, and hopefully we have less regression over time. That's where we are. And I think the last 8 years, I think hasn't been a dark age either. I would just say it was sort of a golden age of early NFTs. I think there's so many historical things that happened on Counterparty that shaped the way crypto art has moved. So that's one thing I would say. And then, what the founders have worked on, basically to get new nice things, there's these preconditions that have to exist. So the stability is one thing they worked on. The API being a lot better and much more better documented. These things are being, sort of airdropped on us, which in I think a really awesome way. It's just sometimes it's not going 100%, but we're laying the preconditions for this better sort of more usable thing. And you can see now with these new APIs and these new features, as sites pop up overnight, that's a testament to the groundwork being laid. I don't think I have anything else to pontificate on, but I think could have been better, but it could have been worse. And I think all the the right things are being done directionally. Like I think the speed and velocity of the project has greatly increased, and nothing is sort of like nothing historical is being lost. And I think it's we're taking away over time we'll take away this like stigma of like, oh, Counterparty, like that's old tech, and it's like once you take away that sort of cudgel that people use against Counterparty, it's like, well, Counterparty is like the longest, oldest like meta protocol ledger basically on Bitcoin. So like that's sort of now people have to contend with that, and we can use that as a shining sort of thing for the network. Anyways, I'll shut up. But good, awesome conversation, and people don't have conflict over things but like that aren't valuable. So the conflict like points to the fact that there's value here. And there is a lot of value here from a lot of artists, from a lot of devs, from a lot of years of, sort of underground cultural production. And I will give the floor back.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Dan. Yeah, it's been a really good conversation. An hour and a half. We've had pretty much everybody who's built in the community or collected for the majority come up here and shared their words. We do have two more hands to go to. We go to Kane and then RLC right after.
Hey, I'm a lot more calm than the last time this happened because I'm not caught directly in the fucking middle of it, which is very fortunate because if I was launching the project that I'm doing right now on Counterparty, right now, I'd be in the middle of the street in tidy-whitey underwear with a fucking gun in my hand, losing my mind because this is crazy. Like, I'm going to tell you how I feel, and I'm going to preface it by saying I am actively looking for reasons not to feel this way. And then I have a question. How I feel is there's a bunch of very rich people that would burn my house down to piss off the other guy with the smoke. That's how I feel. And I feel like I'm not around long enough, nor am I smart enough to understand the complexity of 95% of the shit you guys are mad at each other about. I do know kind of from just what I can glean. That's why I like Joe, because he Northeast guy talks very directly. It makes me very happy. Some of the ways we've been doing things before I got here were quote unquote wrong. It's like cutting a hole in the side of your house just to get something out of the fridge. I get that. And by fixing it and making it safer and even though it wasn't actively inconveniencing me, it makes it better for everybody. And there's also kind of a big business, small business dilemma going on where big business wants certain things so they can compete big businessy. I don't think I have a need for fair mints personally. I don't think that I have any. I don't know all the binding and spell binding my fucking thing, the tokens or XTO, whatever the thing. I don't do things like that. I'm just a person that makes pictures, and I like Counterparty for what it was, even if the way I was using it was probably wrong or bad or dangerous or dumb or whatever the thing, because I'm not smart enough to understand. I do know this currently, as of right this particular second and backwards. The only wallet that I can use that doesn't limit the thing I create to a JPEG is Free Wallet. The only browser that I can use, there's only two that don't limit what I create to a JPEG, and that's Xchain or whatever he's calling it today. And thank you to Droplister, who did a wonderful thing for me, and I really appreciate him because he's a great guy. I can't currently, and I'm an open-minded person, man. I don't have a side because I'm small. And when the elephants fight, the grass gets trampled. I'm not on either side. I'm grass. So I tried to use Horizon, and my work doesn't appear in there. Can't use it currently. Something changes, I'll revisit it, but I can't use it. I tried using Firemints. My stuff doesn't appear in there. Can't use it. So I don't have a use for a lot of the things that seem to be getting built. And that's okay because everything is not about me or even people like me. I do feel personally that Counterparty, the new wave of it, there's a wind blowing that doesn't seem to have a place in it for people like me. And that's okay. Gentrification happens everywhere. I don't wait till the bulldozer's in front of my house. I just pack my boxes and move. I don't protest.
No, that's not okay. That's not okay. I mean, we need to build things for people like you.
No. Whether it is or it isn't, this is how I feel. And again, I'm actively looking for reasons to not feel that way. Yesterday, I had to fucking calm everyone down just so I can get an answer on why, what's the thing? Atomic swaps.
I tell my wife all the time, bro, feelings lie all the time, Kane. Don't trust your feelings. Don't you know that by now, man?
Of course they do. Of course feelings lie. But that's why I deal with them rationally like a big boy. And I got my Timberlands on. And I look for active reasons to deny my feelings as I would with a big piece of chocolate cake. Because I don't want to get the beatus and have to lose my foot. Because while I'm handsome, she won't love me with one foot. So the point that I'm making is I would very much like, and this is a big ask because, again, vitriol, and I'm petty like anyone else. I'm fucking petty, Tom Petty, Petty Crocker. You know what I mean? I'm with that shit, Petty Wop. However, there's a lot of other people who, unlike what the lady was recommending earlier, they can't wait a year. While the grass is growing, the horses are starving. There's people who live off this. There's people who, despite how bad of a decision that may be, they chose to become artists and try to make art on the blockchain, and they use Counterparty. Some of the stuff that people seem very dismissive of, yeah, I do my best not to take it personally because I get that it's not in their world, but it is in mine. I like putting memos in the thing because it works and it's a cool thing that I do. I like doing multi-sends. I used to brag because I'm mint on 8 different now counting yesterday, 9 different blockchains. I actively sell on 9 different blockchains, and I always brag on Counterparty, and my wallet is more diverse and can do more than anyone else's wallet, and I bring out my free wallet, and I've been on Discord, just fuck onboarding. I don't onboard. I was just flexing. Look what I can do that you can't because you're on ETH or Sol or whatever other thing you're doing that's not as good as this. This is the real shit right here. This is why it's ill. And then I go to Xchain, and I go, look at this. When you're on this thing, your token is a this, and that's it. My token is a MP4. It's the MP3. It's a fucking HTML, even though we had that fucking thing on it to tell people don't click on this or you're going to die or whatever the thing you put on. I hated that fucking button. Green banners. I know green banners aren't big, and I know green banners aren't quote unquote real, but in my world, in my very small world, a green banner means something. A green banner is my pirate patch. It's the thing that means I'm in this thing that low key, I desperately wanted to be a part of because I thought it was the coolest shit in the world. And these guys are like superheroes to me. So yeah, it sucks. And when the fork happened the first time, I was in the middle of a drop, and I'm going to be very clear. There's a French word for what happened to me. I got butt fucked in the mouth. That's what happened to me last time. And every day for the last week and a half, I've been calling my friends and just, can you imagine if this was us right now again? Can you imagine? And I need you guys to fucking not do this publicly. I'm the last person that's ever should be tone policing anybody, but there's even the Vector Fettuccine, whatever his name is, he's like, why don't you ask this in this chat? Well, because the way you talk to people makes me offended. And I don't like being condescended to because I speak sarcastic in many languages. I'm real good at that one. So I don't like being condescended to. Whatever the fight is with him has nothing to do with me. I'm a person who uses tools. And if you had the tools, I'd be using your thing. You don't have the tools. That's not your fault or my fault. I just can't use it. So the thing on the website, I'm less passionate about that because in my world, who the fuck goes to the Counterparty website? But again, for big business, it's a big deal. And this is about where the future is going. I know the stamps people are happy. I know the ordinals people are happy. But the people who just make tokens, I don't really see tons of the upside. If there was a way where someone could illustrate the upside to me, I would appreciate it. My question, because this is how I felt, and this is what I'm looking for reasons not to feel. My question is going forward, because currently I don't have much use for what's being built. If the free wallet is going to be and let's just be very, I don't do subtext. You guys are actively, you're going to sunset that. You want to move away from that and you want us to move away from that, fine. You're entitled to your proclivities. And I'm looking for reasons to agree or disagree. I just want to hear what the case is. I can't currently use what you have, and I don't see much in the roadmap for the things that I use being built. So in the interim, should I just stay with the thing that you guys are trying to sunset, or should I just leave all of this altogether and just focus elsewhere? I'm cool either way. And I know the answer officially should be, oh, no, Kane, we're going to build things for you, people like you. And that's fine if you're not. I'm not a very sensitive person that way. I don't think the world revolves around me or even people like me. I think we're very small microcosms on the battlefield you guys play on. I don't really think even much consideration is given to people like me because, frankly, we're not big traffic. We're culture, and culture is important, kind of. But when you're trying to make money, fuck culture. It's about casinos or whatever the fuck you guys are building. So I would very much like to know what the future looks like for digital art.
What just happened? Did your phone die, Chris?
No, I'm stuck.
No?
Do we lose him? We go.
You
Oh,
would
yeah?
say
Died.
space just did it just die for me?
I haven't
This
moved.
happened.
Ruggy McRuggan. Oh, Kane gets cut off.
Perfect.
Oh man.
What do you
Kane,
guys wanna
sorry
do?
about that,
Should we run
bro.
it back up?
No, you're good, dude.
Don't worry
No.
about it. I'd say just cut it off there, man.
Well, everybody, right? LL space cut. Oh man. Yes, I don't.
Bro, we haven't had a good rug like that in forever.
Oh man.
That was right when you got to the question.
Oh man. Sorry, Kane, if you're out there.
Incredible
Also,
build-up.
also Robot Coffee Love, who hit me up, who also wanted to speak. Sorry, guys. Good conversation though, and yeah, we'll be back tomorrow.
That's
He
right.
just messaged me. Sorry, buddy. Sorry, man.
That's
I'll see you
terrible.
guys tomorrow.